Let's talk big picture Democratic Party post-election. All this talk about soul searching, what has to change. Well, you've got a new piece. I'm going to read from your piece in Newsweek. It's titled, DNC should move D.C. headquarters to Youngstown, Ohio. That's where you're from, Youngstown, Ohio. You've been talking about what happened on Election Day for 10 years or so. You come on this show and saying, we're losing these people. We need to work harder to keep these people. So now that I think a lot of Democrats have woken up to what you've been saying for a while, what now for Democrats?
Oh, well, I'd say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek of move the headquarters to Youngstown, Ohio, where there's working class people. It's an old factory town. They're gritty. We've created a great coaching culture. Youngstown has been known as the cradle of coaches, the Stoops brothers, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer's not from far away. We've created this culture of how are you gritty? How do you lead? How are you disciplined? And how do you have some straight talk, like honest conversations with people so that your team trusts you? And I think Democrats have lost that trust. So I say Youngstown. It could be Flint. It could be Detroit, Toledo, Steubenville, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter. It just can't be in freaking Washington, D.C. Like, how many times are we going to talk to ourselves about something that's irrelevant to that person in Youngstown, Ohio, who comes out of that culture, the economic anxiety and all of that? And so it can't be in Washington, D.C. I think it would be a very good strategic move. And as I say in the piece, to have the workers there, have these high overpaid consultants go to a place like Youngstown, play bocce, watch sports, be in the community, eat dinner, great Italian food, they're going to eat well. Like, go there and just listen. Don't be on Twitter. Don't tell them what you think. Nobody cares what you think. Listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth. You listen, just like we were raised. And if we do that, we will begin to shift the culture of the party.
Congressman, so Youngstown is a great example because I think decades ago, I guess the big employer there was probably Republic Steel. I remember when I was in college, I had a friend whose dad who grew up in Youngstown, and his dad worked for Republic Steel, and so. It's one thing to listen and to play bocce, but what should the message be for a place like Youngstown, Ohio? What should Democrats be saying they intend to do or they want to do to make people's lives better there?
We have got to become the party of reform. Period, end of story. Everything needs to fit under that. Everyone knows that the government is broken. Everyone knows that the economy's not working for them, Eugene. Whether you're white or black or brown, you're male, female, whether you work in manufacturing or retail, you know that we blow way too much money on healthcare. You know we're spending billions of dollars on education, but yet we're not getting the skill set that we need to dominate the new economy. We know that affordability around energy is not where it needs to be. We know these communities need rebuilt. These downtowns are empty. The rivers are dirty. Like, we need a huge reform agenda. And that's where I think we dropped the ball, and we gave Trump that lane on reform. You're seeing it now with DOGE, and you're seeing he's the one taking on the broken economic system. Even though he's got concepts of a plan with healthcare, he's at least acknowledging that there's a lot of problems with healthcare, and we didn't get the message out on the insulin and those other things. So I think that the brand for Democrats needs to be, reform and renewal, a la Teddy Roosevelt. We're going to take on these entrenched interests. I actually think what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing, talking about food. I mean, what we've done to the food industry, the consolidation in meat packing, the consolidation around seed and pesticides. Like, why can't we go into rural America and tell farmers that we're on your side? We know that it went from 7, 8, or 9 different seed producers to now 2 or 3, and it's basically a monopoly and you're getting screwed. We've got to have some courage. We've got to have the guts to say we're going to go into rural America. You can't leave voters out there just like they don't know what you stand for.
But let me ask you this, though. How can it be that in Youngstown, Ohio, the average salary last year was $34,000 a year for a family, for a household? Household average salary last year, $34,000. and yet a government of the billionaires, for the billionaires, by the billionaires, won Ohio overwhelmingly. How does that happen? How do Democrats miss that layup? Why have they continued to miss that layup for years? So, average household of $34,000?
Yeah.
Voting for the government of the billionaires, for the billionaires, by the billionaires, over and over again. How could it be that Ohio is gone?
I don't think Ohio's gone, but they saw Trump as the blue-collar billionaire who's going to go in and help fix it, and maybe he's the only guy that could. And unfortunately, as much as I'd love Bill Clinton, they see the Democrats as the ones who passed NAFTA and led us through globalization. And those workers at places like Delphi or General Motors, we literally watched those jobs go from Warren, Ohio, over the border into the maquiladoras in Mexico and ship the product back. Our workers were unbolting machines. My cousin did from the factory floor and shipped it to China. Workers went to Mexico.
That happened in 1994.
It's still in the DNA, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, and Democrats can't figure something out from 1994 forward?
Well, no, that's the problem is they said you did this, and Obama was in for 8 years, and things have not gotten any better. Now, finally, to Biden's credit, we are reindustrializing the country.
Right.
But we didn't have a reform reindustrializing. We're taking on those guys, and we're putting. There's a battery plant outside of Youngstown, 2,000 UAW jobs. $30 an hour, just renegotiated the contract. We didn't hear about that. So all the upside we didn't talk about. All the reforms that we were trying to make around insulin, these other, you didn't hear a ton about it. It wasn't this big, bold agenda. It was really piecemeal. And we need that big reform agenda. Carry a big stick.
All right.
Former Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan, always good to see you. Thank you for coming on this morning.